Well, Jim, let's stay on the topic of AEW and AEW business. A report came out this week. Brandon Thurston, the man behind WrestleNomics, put out an AEW financial estimate for 2023. I know a lot of this went around. Did you get to see any of this report? Any of these numbers? Any of this report? Did you get to see?
I tried. A lot of people have been extrapolating and speculating on AEW's finances, and Uncle Dave put out this long. Well, now if you consider this, you take that, you estimate this, and it was pulling tens of millions of dollars out of his ass with completely improper grammar and no punctuation. So I couldn't understand that. And then conversely, it seemed like old Thurston Howell III there did such a good job that it was like a financial report that I couldn't fucking read either. So you're the financial genius around here. I've said it before, a common small town bird lawyer. Can you explain to me, as he's gone through these finances, not only they say that AEW is still losing $30+ million a year, but how the fuck do they expect to make anything?
Well, this goes to a conversation we had. How did they ever expect to make anything?
I mean, if the TV network gives them $500 million a year, whatever the magic number is, then yeah, they'd make something, but
they said that out loud. They said out loud, if the TV network who we're partnering with for this upstart company gives us a great deal in 4 years or in 2 years, whatever it was at the time, 3 years, cut it right through the middle.
Yeah.
If we get that deal, then we'll be an incredibly profitable company. And if that video game hits, it'll be more profitable than anyone could have imagined.
And if you know what Mama Cornette used to say, then you'd say right now, and if a frog had wings, he wouldn't bump his ass on the ground.
You know, we always compared AEW to a lot of the rival promotions, whether it was the situation in Montreal or the situation at the same time in Georgia with All South. It feels, I mean, again, I wasn't there, but it feels like what a lot of those companies seem like when you read about them, and the stars were gone, and the audiences stopped coming so much. And I tweeted out, we'll talk about Dynamite obviously on the experience, but I tweeted it out. It feels dead. AEW feels dead right now. There's no energy. There's no buzz. Even the matches that their fans love the most, they're quiet. There's like large stretches of quiet.
Well, and as well, the people that you want to see are either hurt or miscast. Nobody wants to see MJF out there crying about his friends like everybody else does. They wanted to see MJF, the fucking... Nobody was on the level of the devil. Now he's just a good-hearted fella that's found what it means to have friends. And everybody fired, injured, or been made meaningless by the ridiculous booking and or just being involved in stupid shit. So, no, there's no looking forward to watching this shit, for anybody but the people who you said want to say, oh, there's some great matches with two guys doing shit to each other back and forth and nobody cares.
And again, part of the story is the difference between net and gross. And AEW is grossing a lot of money, and people hear that like, how could you say they're not successful? They're making $150 million. How much are they spending? How much are they I could make $150 million on $200 million any day of the week. Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah. Hey, well, I've said many times before, the easiest way to make $5 million in the wrestling business is start with $10 million. But it's like the old, when Flair was the spokesman for the goddamn North Carolina lottery, the joke was that every ticket you buy is guaranteed to win $10,000. Problem is they cost $20,000.
And look at where he ended up, selling wings.
Well, now it's wooing.
Wing.
Wooing.
Wooings.
Wooing. So anyway, somebody else is wooing the network now over all of this stuff.
Well, again, what Brandon Thurston put together is what he estimates, because AEW is a private company. None of these numbers are public. quite frankly, you can't trust anything Tony Khan would say publicly about any of the numbers at this point.
Only accidentally. When he accidentally reveals that Warner Brothers does own some kind of piece of this thing and probably ain't making much out of it, stuff like that, but you can't believe what he says on purpose.
But Brandon Thurston estimated that for 2023, AEW altogether by the end of the year will generate around $154 million in net revenue, which is an increase from $100 million estimated for last year, and they will lose $34 million.
Oh, God. How the fuck? Well, we talk about how the fuck all the time. How many wrestlers get paid by AEW that just sit home and you never see them, or they fly them to wherever and you still don't see them, and he never fires anybody except the people that draw money?
$34 million. How do you lose $34 million?
But think about that. 5 guys that couldn't get booked on a lot of indies are probably sitting home making a couple $100,000 a year, just that nobody even knows are gone.
How much did Vince lose?
Or more.
How much did Vince lose when he cut the water coolers?
$6 million.
$6 million
in one fiscal year.
And I was like, okay, we're changing everything. Let's get back to basics.
He took the goddamn water coolers out. He cut the fucking office staff's money. It was brutal. But no, if that's this year, they're going to lose $34 million, grossing $150 million. How much did they lose last year when they only grossed $100 million? And how much they lose the year before? We heard that Tony had $100 million to spend on this thing. That's already got to be gone, right?
I would think so. And again,
it's not like he's out. It's just that's what Dad gave him to start. So I guess he's had to go back to Dad. Because how else is this happening? How can you generate $150-something million of income and still lose $30-something million in 1 year? Company started from scratch 4 years ago. It cost a lot more at the beginning. Where the fuck's he at on this?
Well, looking at what Brandon Thurston at WrestleNomics put together, I encourage everyone to check this out. Follow along with us at patreon.com/WrestleNomics or something like that, but get there and get this report. The media business for AEW, which would be TV broadcasts and pay-per-view, is estimated to make up around 60% of the total revenue, around $98 million. So that includes a television deal, and it has an estimated breakdown here. $67,500,000 from Warner Brothers Discovery, $2.9 million from ITV, $2 million from Eurosport, $650,000 from Bell Media in Canada, $375,000 from Fight, $300,000 from TNT Siri in Germany. There's $300,000 from Toonami in France. Followed by another $300,000 from ESPN in Oceania. $250,000 coming in from DAZN, with another $200,000 from Sky in Italy, and $150,000 from VIX in Latin America. Rounding out the list,
I thought VIX made Vapor Rub.
TNT Africa in Sub-Saharan Africa, $150,000, and Premier Sports in the Philippines, $100,000. $0 from Japan for New Japan World. That brings it to 75.2. Brandon Thurston is estimating that pay-per-view netted $19 million for the company altogether for the year.
So they get, what'd you say, almost $90 million for TV and $19 million for pay-per-view.
$75 million for TV.
Or $75 million. For boy, how the worm has turned. We used to have to just do good TV and make the money on pay-per-view. Now this guy can do shitty television and get paid guaranteed money for it.
Brandon Thurston is estimating that AEW will generate around $34 million in ticket sales from just over 500,000 tickets sold.
Good Lord, what's the average ticket then? The average ticket is $70?
That's crazy, isn't it?
No wonder there's not a lot of them.
The average ticket sold for house shows, the average ticket is $34. For Dynamite, $52. For Collision, $50. For Rampage or Battle of the Belts, $50. For pay-per-views, excluding All In, $94. And then All In, $123.
Oh, because that's skewing the average somewhat. Yeah, we've heard that to compensate for not being able to do 80,000 people at Wembley next year, they've jacked the tickets up 2 and 3 times. We've had several emails from people who said the ticket they bought last year, the same thing, cost 3 times as much in the English pounds.
Now, without any firm numbers, again, AEW is a private company. Brandon Thurston is estimating that for consumer products, that would be the video game, that would be e-commerce, that would be merchandising and licensing, $22 million in revenue. He's estimating.
So what if a video game is worth a shit, as far as video games go, what do they normally make? Because we're hearing this thing's a flop, but do we have exact numbers to put to it? The thing that was going to save them all at one point.
I don't believe we have any firm numbers on a video game just yet. I know I just heard, and it sounds crazy because we keep hearing about it being on clearance and no one playing it. They just re-released it for $90 with some bonus content. Now, who's going to buy that?
It was the bonus content, the patch that fixed everything that wouldn't work the first time around?
I think the bonus content may have been like a Hardy and FTR. I'm not sure what the bonus content is.
Well, but the point I'm making is we know that what was your figure you just gave there for all of the consumer products, including the video game?
$22 million.
Okay, then the video game made less than $22 million.
Here, well, let me read what he has
and
here.
Didn't we hear that it cost $50 million or more to make?
This is going to be like one of those things, how many people saw the Beatles at Shea Stadium? I heard 30 million. And I heard 60 million. I've heard different numbers, so I don't know. But according to Brandon Thurston, again from WrestleNomics, licensing is the most difficult segment to estimate, I guess I should say. I believe AEW's 3 biggest licenses this year were with Ukes, which published Fight Forever, Jazzwares, which are the action figures, and Upper Deck, the trading cards. I estimate Ukes revenue at $8 million, Jazzwares at $1.8 million, and Upper Deck at $1.3 million, with an additional $250,000 in miscellaneous partnerships, for a total of $11.3 million on product licensing alone.
So we had the video game insiders that sent us emails on how these things work, but basically they paid this company to produce the video game, right? Is what we have come to figure out. And then they get a piece of the goddamn proceeds from the game. And the other part is if it sells by Walmart gets something. And these Uke people thought it was Yeet. Now it's Uke?
No, it's a different thing altogether. Yeet is what Jey Uso is legally allowed to yell out once again. Ukes is what they yell out when your game bombs.
It's the sound you make right before you throw up. But anyway, point being, it wasn't a goddamn giant revenue producer, apparently, was the video game. And I'm wondering if a video game is successful, maybe some of the folks out there can tell us, how much is it supposed to make?
Well, here's some interesting stuff. Here's what Brandon Thurston, and it says this is the first time he's tried to do this, estimates for the expenses for AEW.
Oh, I got to hear this.
And profitability. So let's get to this. For talent expenses, he estimates that the average talent, now average talent, of course, means the people on the low end and the people on the high end all gets weighed together, folks. So don't go crazy thinking everyone's getting this. He estimates the average talent is paid $450,000 annually. He counted 188 roster members.
Sam, what am I telling you?
Based on the website, which brings total talent compensation to $85 million.
That is, oh my God. My fucking Christ. That, I would have never dreamed something like that, because even though I knew just from doing this for 40 fucking years that he's spending a lot of money on these wrestlers. But, and I heard before the TV show went on the air from people that I spoke to that were actually independent wrestlers saying that so and such was getting 4 and 5 times as much as he had ever gotten from any other promoter anywhere else to work for Tony. And apparently that has continued.
Yeah, I'd like to sign with AEW, but I'm going to lose all these dates where I get paid in hot dogs. Okay, I'll give you $150K. All right. Sign tomorrow. Well, let's go back to Brandon Thurston here. So $85 million is his estimate for talent compensation. Media and event operating expenses, he estimated at $66 million per year, which is broken down. There were 5 house shows. He estimates they cost $400,000 each. $2 million as the expense.
Jesus Christ, the WWF didn't draw $400,000 when they sold out Madison Square Garden just a little over 20 years ago. And now he's spending that to put a fucking show on. And with these NBA arenas, we talked about it. And
well, again, these are house shows. These are the 4 house shows or 5 house shows we're talking about, not even Dynamite.
Christ on a cracker.
Dynamite, there were 52 of those. $650,000 per episode is the estimate, bringing it to $33,800,000 a year to produce Dynamite.
Okay, I was going to say that they were probably spending about $500,000 a week on television, judging from my experience in the industry and what I'm looking at on the screen. And that's not counting the wrestlers.
Is that a necessary evil?
Well, if you're losing that much money, it wouldn't be necessary, except if you wanted to goddamn go out of business. But since you can afford to lose an unlimited amount of money, apparently, I guess it's, you got to have a TV show, but you don't have to lose goddamn millions of dollars a year on it, unless you just have that luxury.
Well, there were 27 collisions as well as 3 separate Rampage Battle of the Belts. Each did $650,000 on average. Pay-per-view, excluding All In, 7 of those. The expense is $1,100,000, and bringing it to $7,700,000 for the year. And All In on its own, $3 million was the expense.
Christ.
So I guess if that's $3 million was the expense,
what was their gate?
Is that just the rent? Does that count any marketing or promotion, or is that just rent?
Well, I think, he's not counting. He's not doing a specific, accounting of every line item, but I would think that would be the rent, the staffing of the building, the advertising and or, catering and all that other bullshit that goes into putting something on besides talent, which he's figured under a different category. So what was their gate? Did they say the gate, or did they just say 80 whatever thousand people?
If I go up, that's under revenue. For live events, 5 house shows, average ticket distributed, 2,128. Average ticket sold, 1,915. For total ticket revenue of $330,000.
Oh, so they lost money on the house shows, like $100,000 or whatever from those figures.
For Dynamite, 52 episodes, average ticket distributed 5,065, sold 4,559, revenue $12,300,000.
Well, but again, that's for the live event, which we know that they're losing their ass on these big buildings and etc., but they're doing the television show that ties into the rights fee so that, you can understand losing some money on the house or on the production of the television program because you're making it back on the rights fee and that's your sales tool. But these numbers are just so unnecessarily large in every category.
The total ticket revenue for All In was $10 million, estimate. For the other pay-per-views, excluding All In, $6 million. Rampage and Battle of the Belts, 480,000. And for Collision, $5,100,000. So that's the total ticket revenue for all the live events.
Again, nobody would have gone into this looking at those numbers and saying this is a doable thing. We will be able to do this and exist as a business, except for somebody that doesn't have to make any money at it.
Hey, let me read this. Brandon Thurston says it here. AEW's path to profitability relies largely on getting a strong increase in media rights compensation from Warner Brothers Discovery. If AEW gets a 2 times increase in TV rights value, over about $70 million, that would mean about $140 million annually from domestic media rights, more than double what the revenue stream may have generated this year. So much of AEW's future, at least in terms of profitability, I shouldn't say their future. The future is if Shad says no more. Enough. Go focus on the soccer team. But in terms of profitability...
That's football to you.
Well, either one. But in terms of profitability, how are they going to make money?
And then, and already we're saying a big and then, because how can they double the rights fee they're getting now when their own network is talking to the other company? But then, how crazy is Tony going to go and sign some more wrestlers or spend some more money? And then, aren't all those entitled little pricks that he has coddled from day one going to say, well, Tony, now you're getting more money, you give us a raise, and he'll do it. You know he wants to give his little puppy pockets more money. So, again, they're completely amateurs in what they're trying to do, and they don't have any frame of reference for what's been done before, because only a handful of people in that company have actually worked for a major company that does national television and spends money at this clip and makes it at this clip. Actually, let me reverse that. No major company spends it and makes it at that, but they've worked for major companies like the WWF that have made tens of millions of dollars. There's only a few of those people. The rest of them have no frame of reference. They think this is goddamn Camelot.
Hey, let's talk about the fact that if we're talking about Raw potentially being sold or pitched to Warner Brothers Discovery, what would they think? If they own a piece of AEW, and AEW is completely not profitable, but AEW uses Warner Brothers Discovery platforms, like Bleacher Report, for instance. If it's that versus we get out of the wrestling business, we don't own a piece of AEW, and we just get the WWE's TV product. Again, it's hard to think of how AEW is going to sell themselves right now.
And I wonder if it's a deal where they don't necessarily own a piece of AEW, because remember, Tony has said, well, nobody has any voting right but me.
Right.
Maybe they just said, well, like the old days, we used to make deals in the wrestling business. If you wanted to get on a local station in Chicago, you would say, tell you what, every time we run Chicago, we'll give you 5% of the house or whatever it is if you carry our program. And then the station had a vested interest in the show's running and the show's doing well. Maybe there's something like that where if they hit a certain mark or they run a certain thing or they make certain money, they get a piece of it. Because can you imagine if they said, well, Warner Brothers Discovery will give you a piece of the profits, X% of the profits, and there's never been any profit. There's no profits, Jerry. Then they wouldn't be happy, so they got to be getting something, even though the company is not turning a profit.
Yeah, it can't just be they get the pay-per-view share of Bleacher Report for the pay-per-views. That doesn't make it worth it.
Yeah, that's not, yeah. That wouldn't turn the average television network executive's head.
Well, again, very interesting times here, and very interesting time. I mean, even if Warner Brothers stays with AEW right now, what's going to happen when their deal comes up? They got to negotiate. How much leverage do they have? Do they have any leverage? They're losing it by the week, it seems. And the public perception is becoming the perception. So, a lot of problems. And if you can't make money, if you're running a business, you can't make money. Can $150 million? Can you imagine generating $150 million How many millions I'd have in Switzerland? Are you kidding me? You can't make money on that?
I remember when Joe Goodhart was running Philadelphia after WCW fucked it up so bad that nobody'd go to see them anymore. 91, 92. Joe Goodhart's running those big independent shows that became the basis pretty much of ECW, bringing in every star. Remember, he had Sheik versus Abdullah the Butcher. He had every star in the Terry Funk and Cactus Jack and Eddie Gilbert. And I remember he went out of business on a sellout. He drew $40,000, filled the fucking building up, and lost money. Because he was a mark, putting together mark matches for marks that, you know, yes, he was selling the tickets in a 2,000-seat building, but he was spending so much money to put together the dream card that he went out of business, selling out.
And Tony's a lot like Scazzari in the sense that everyone pats the guy with the checkbook on the back.
Oh, I watched Gordon Scazzari. He had a pack of checks with not even in a register. Just a pack of checks and just writing them without even recording anything and handing them to fucking guys. And some guy'd come in and say, well, goddamn, I tore my tights. I'm sorry. Here you go. Here's new tights. When they left the room, they'd taken the light switches and they drained him of his blood.
Well, that's a heck of a way to end this segment. The AEW financial estimate for 2023, the draining of Tony's blood, or maybe his money. But Jim, whether you're dealing with the frustrations of being a wrestling promoter as the walls come crumbling down, or something else, maybe CBD can be a solution for you, and we know the best people to get your CBD from.
I'll tell you what, yeah, if you're getting some CBD, CB Distillery is the place to go for that CBD. Because they will see you later with the BD and you'll like it. I don't know what Tony needs as far as medication. I think it may be beyond CB Distillery's wheelhouse to medicate Tony into something similar to a normal human relationship. However, if you got problems sleeping, if you're sore after exercise, if you're just stressed and anxious and you need a calmer mind for the holiday season, that's what CB Distillery can help you with. If you're making $150 million a year at your business and still losing money, they can't help you. But CB Distillery, with their carefully formulated CBD and plant-based solutions and their healing plant compounds made with the highest quality, clean ingredients, no artificial colors, flavors, or preservationists, and with over 2 million
preservatives,
they got none of those. And with over 2 million customers and a 100% money-back guarantee, well, there you can trust them. You can trust these people because they would not steer you wrong. They would not give you wooings or battery acid tasting energy drinks, only clean, fresh ingredients, no artificial colors, so you'll have a calmer mind, better sleep, less pain after exercise, potentially less pain after watching bad television. That the jury is still out on that. They're still studying the results. But anecdotally, if you take a couple of these bad boys, AEW television will not haunt you in your dreams. And right now, if you go to cbdistillery.com and enter the code JCE, you're going to get 20% off. So you can stuff everybody's stocking with the little globules of goodness that will make you feel and sleep and taste and smell oh so much better. Do you know that 46% of the people who take CB Distillery products report that they smell better?
I did not know. Is this in the copy? Do you know this? Is this official data?
Anecdotally, I've been told this by people I can trust on the street.
Anecdotally?
Yes, that they smell better when they take CB Distillery. They can smell a hobo or a bum a mile down the road.
I don't know about any of that, but of course, if you're someone who exercises, you work out, maybe the older you get, the more sore you get, not sores, but the more physically sore you are and you need some help. Maybe you need some help getting to sleep.
Maybe you're a sore head. You need to calm that troubled mind.
That's right, and you would do that somehow.
You're at the far end of your tether, and your thoughts run clear together.
With CB Distillery. Somehow.
That's what you take to get past that stuff. And not only that, but 47% of the people say that their loved one or domestic partner says they taste better too, as well as smelling better and sleeping better. And
this is not in the copy, ladies and gentlemen. This is
I have not tried it.
Fact.
Actually, I've not tried, but a little whipped cream on certain spots will make it go down better also. But right now, with code JCE, you can stuff all those stockings with 20% off the fine products at cbdistillery.com. You don't need a prescription. Just have somebody, maybe your next door neighbor, write a little note for you, use an assumed name, put it in, but no prescription is required. 20% off at cbdistillery.com. Enter the code JCE. Sleep like you're never going to wake up again. The sleep of the angels.
Sleep like you're going to wake up again, fully rested and comfortable because of the fine CB Distillery CBD products.
Yes, and smelling great and tasting good, feeling fine and froggy, and ready to hop.
Yeah, again, some of those things you will certainly feel some of with CB Distillery's products. Some of those things, there are no guarantees involved, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, there's no guarantees. The whole life thing is a crapshoot, Brian.
Well, yeah, but
the one thing you're not doing shooting craps is at CB Distillery. You know what you're going to get there, and it's going to be good. Boy, I tell you what, you could mark this stuff up in an alleyway.
No, see, you
sell it.
I think we're about to end on a high note, and you take it right back, literally to the street, right back to the gutter.
Well, let's end on a high note.
The alleyway.
It's the end, man.
All right, was that the end of the
spot? You said let's end on a high note.
CB Distillery, what's that promo code one more time, Jim?
JCE, man.
Just JCE, ladies and gentlemen, not man. JCE.
Man.
JCE, no man.